evening, folks. It is 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time, and whatever it is, basically whatever time it is, wherever you are. Anyway, I am Scott. That's alongside Mr. Robert Manning. We may be missing a person right now. I'm not sure. Dave may very well have actually said he wasn't going to be here, and I probably forgot, which is usually how these sort of things work. But anyway, it is Tales from the Film Set. We will be talking about a tale from a film set, if you saw the thumbnail. My experiences on the latest Steven Spielberg project. No, I will not be giving spoilers on it because I have a feeling he's probably not a fan of that sort of thing, and I'd rather not test fate. But we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the status of one of my 10 toes down below. Big toe on the right side. We'll talk about that a little bit. We will also be doing Cash or Trash at this point. We have, I think, how many movies do we have? Two, three, four, 5 different movies, I think, at this point.
Okay.
So we'll be talking about those. Will they make their money back? Will they fail epically? And will we be right or will we be mocked ourselves? So, as basically I've rambled too much. Rob, how the hell are you, man?
I am doing great. Happy to be here on our casual every Monday here on String Punk Entertainment.
Yes, sir.
If you guys are watching for the first time, welcome in. And also, you should definitely go to the YouTube, which if you're watching on the YouTube, but go look out at our newest interviews.
Yes.
Some really good content. Also, if you don't already, go follow us on TikTok, Stream Punk Entertainment. We'll be posting our interviews on there too. But man, that Merv video still cracks me up. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah,
interviews.
we for those that don't know, you did yeoman's work on this, but you had a really good interview with Merv from Impractical Jokers. He talked about his nipples. He talked about faking his death. He talked about his prostate exam and all the various things that typically come about from an episode of Impractical Jokers when you've been doing it for, I believe, 12 years.
Yeah.
It has done really well. The subreddit actually has taken to it pretty nicely. I've noticed that. Got a couple of weird comments on that one too, but credit to you because a lot of them actually have really liked your approach. So.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was such a weird interview, but a funny interview because it was one of those interviews that I did not know what to expect. And Murr is so ADHD, I think is the best way to say it. And the things he did, I love seeing his manager's reaction when he showed his nipples on the camera. I saw his managers probably thinking, "What the heck are you doing, Murr?" But I love how he was like, "Hey," and he was talking to one of the crowd.
Some rando just shows up there, yeah.
He's like, "Season's coming out," and then I like that we got vamped by Peter Facinelli. I think is how you say his name, but we also got an interview with him, so that'll be good. But yeah, I just love that he's like, "We just got vamped." So we got some good shit on the horizon today. Yes, sir.
So I figured let's start this off. It is in fact something. Basically, the big thing I wanted to bring up. My toe. So, in the 15 years that I've spent in the film industry, I've had injuries in a lot of different ways. Some badass, some stupid. This one today falls into the stupid category because I ended up breaking a toe on the set of Steven Spielberg's latest film, which centers around UFOs and stars Emily Blunt. I can't go into more specific details about the stuff that I'm aware of in this case, the things that I've seen, because NDAs, and like I said, that dude has a lot more clout than I am, and boy, would I get in a lot of trouble for this one. And probably I have a feeling that their filters are probably going to notice this as well. But being the clumsy moron that I am, I added it to the list of all the injuries that I've taken over the years, herniated discs, torn rotator cuffs, like I said, with one broken toe that occurred on the final day of filming, and their filming wrap that occurred when we were filming 2 Fridays ago. I'm not going to say exactly where we were. I'm not going to say what we were doing in this case here. I kind of can't go into too many details there.
Right.
But I will tell you this. Having broken a toe on a Spielberg film is still worth it to be in front of Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a weird thing, but I don't really ever get
starstruck.
Yeah, thank you. Starstruck. Yeah. By any actors or celebrities that I see anymore. But it was weird because I've met Steven Spielberg before, but for some reason on this set, him going back to an alien film seems full circle-y now almost 50 years since he did Close Encounters.
That Alien movie.
Yeah, that Alien movie. You know,
I thought we were talking about E.T. Full Moon.
Well, actually, we have that one too. I mean, yeah, he was kind of doing alien stuff for a little while there, wasn't he?
Right.
Aliens and sharks, but the terrain itself was pretty rough, and a lot of us actually took injuries. But I'm not sure if anybody took it as bad as I did there. But yeah,
I see that movie now, Scott. Aliens and Sharks.
I'm pretty sure that was probably a Sci-Fi Channel original movie. You know, Sharkosaurus versus Roswell, Sharkosaurus at Roswell or something like that, weird shit like that. But dude, it hurt so freaking badly, man.
So how did you hurt your toe? If you can give some kind of detail.
I slipped like a moron.
Okay. Did you do it in front of Mr. Steven?
No. He was actually kind of in his little tiny tent there. Okay. There was a lot of people in this case here. There was a lot of people that trickled all the way down. So you know, him, DPs, ADs, all the way down. I mean, there was a litany of people. Now, what I will say about this is his shooting days are short. Yeah. It had a little, from my understanding, some of the days had a lot of chaos involved because it was a lot more moving parts than maybe he would normally have. But it was impressive by given the fact that his shooting days were typically around 12 hours. Our day that was there was probably about 11, I would say, in this case. But this is going to sound like a surprise, but Steven Spielberg knows how to make a movie.
It's awesome.
Yes.
Wait, he knows how to make a movie?
Yes. I believe he may have done some cartoons too, I think, at some point. Some stuff back in the mid-90s. I think we may be talking to somebody like that tomorrow. Waiting to confirm on that, by the way. I haven't heard back from him. So.
So we have. Okay.
So I'm waiting. Let's presume it's going to be on, but yeah. I will just, we may very well have a Spielberg alum in the form of Mr. Paul Rugg tomorrow, 11 a.m. pre-recorded. Paul Rugg was one of the chief writers and voice actors for both Animaniacs and Freakazoid. I think he was also tied to
and so many other projects.
What's that?
I said and so many other projects that I didn't realize he was part of.
So we may be talking to him about some cool shit there, see what's going on there. But right now, my toe hasn't healed yet.
And speaking of Steven Spielberg, and I'm sorry about your toe, if you become a Patreon on Jim Cummings' podcast, there's exclusive content. We did Tuned In with Jim Cummings, and this month's video was talking about the work that he did with Steven Spielberg. And because Jim got to work with Steven Spielberg in Balto.
Valid, yes.
Because he was Steel, the villain in that movie, and he got to be directed by Steven Spielberg all day long. And he got off.
I've met Spielberg before from like Public Morals and things of that sort.
Yeah.
Cool guy, very short though. He's like 5'7".
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And it was the funniest quick story. It was he was saying he got a phone call. Steven did. He's answering it, and he's like, "Oh hey, how are things? Da 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 da. Oh, tell Hillary I said hi. He just got off the phone with President Clinton." And yeah, so.
Well, that does explain in Animaniacs, the first season, they're talking about Bill Clinton plays the sax.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of funny because, like I said, of the injuries that I've taken in the film set over the years, a torn rotator cuff, herniated disc, concussion, broken foot, or sprained foot. I'm sorry, probably sprained a foot, sprained knee. I've never broken a toe on a film set until now, and I've never broken it in a more dumb way. Slipping on literal pavement.
I mean, hey, at least you can say you did. It's kind of a brag that you did it on a Steven Spielberg movie. I mean,
that is true. But I mean, couldn't I have been like doing? Could I have been doing a stunt or something crazy? Where it's more along the lines.
It'd be one thing if it was on like a low budget. I mean, I'm not saying this movie ain't low, but it'd be one thing if it was a director that nobody cares about. But you get to tell your friends, "Hey, I broke my toe on a Steven Spielberg movie." They'd be like, "Yeah,
dude,
that's cool."
You've done low budget films. You know how those things can be.
I like low budget films.
I am less of a. Here's the thing. I'm not crazy about low budget films anymore. If the money is there, I can live with it a little bit. Low budget projects, for example, like I'll include like Evil Lives Here and Formative Murder Porn. Those are great. Low budget, but those are amazing. But low budget independent films, oh my god, dude, those things are nightmare fuel.
For experience as a newcomer actor, low budget films are good. I understand what you're saying. If it was money wise, no, low budget movies would not be good for me right now if I was trying to make a living off of $11 an hour and being on set for one day.
Which is funny because you said it's $11 an hour, guaranteed 8, and then what you get? Are you guaranteed overtime in Arkansas?
So the law was, or for at least the project that I did, if we went over 8 hours, then you were given overtime, which we did. I was on set from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. So there was about 3 hours of overtime.
So okay, that would be about 11 hours at that point. Possible break for lunch too. I'm not sure if they did.
Half hour. We got a half-hour lunch, and then it technically was more than a half hour, but
Yeah, because first they got to go with crew back in, and then basically,
we didn't. Let's just say we went to break, but we didn't get our lunch until like an hour and a half later.
Well, here's the thing. The way it works is that crew goes through first. Crew and first team, and second team go through first. That's the rule. And then after that, then it's SAG, then it's non-SAG. Now I don't know in your project if you had non-SAG people there or not. I'm sorry, pure SAG background or not.
Right.
But that's the typical hierarchy and pecking order of that. Unless you're a douchebag like person in New York and you're just going to cut the line anyway. And listen, I've made the mistake of inadvertently grabbing food when I thought like BG were called, and I made that mistake probably about a month ago, and I felt really bad about it. It was an innocent mistake, but But in this case here, the way it works here in the New York area is, if you're a non-union actor, you are guaranteed $180-150 as soon as you walk in the door.
Right.
So it's 8 hours. It's basically $15 an hour plus 2 guaranteed hours of overtime on top of it, in order to be able to round it out. So even the non-union people, there was a lot of non-union people that day on that Spielberg film. I think it was about 96 of us in total.
Wow.
And yeah, it was pretty badass. But
so, sorry, I was gonna say. So when you're you're a background extra, right? Is what you just did.
In that case, yeah. It's easy money.
So
I made $400 for like 10 hours.
Did you get to? And I know this probably sounds stupid. Did you get to interact with Steven Spielberg at all this time? Or
no, I did not, because he's in his little tent. Nobody bothers him. Nobody talks to him.
Yeah.
When he was directing the show Public Morals on TNT or TBS, I think it was back then it was a lot more interactive because that was his TV. He was acting like a TV director there. In this case here, because this is a big deal movie, it's about aliens, Emily Blunt, Colin Firth. There's a lot of names involved with something like this. There was a lot more hierarchy involved.
Yeah. And did you get to interact with Emily Blunt at all?
She was not there that time. Okay. So no, I did not. The stuff that I had was pretty much all B-roll anyway, but it was kind of funny because the weather held out, but it was really looking like it was going to rain. And oh god, that would have sucked if it rained, because the temperature dropped down to about 55 degrees, and if the rain kicked in, boy, all of us would have probably had pneumonia. But But yeah, and of course, like I said, I was getting cranky because I had to do a lot of walking, by the way, on that foot. And I got back and I saw my foot the next day, and it was swollen. It had cuts and abrasions all over the place and everything like that. And of course, you're driving big toe. So when you drive, sometimes you kind of forget when you have foot pain. So when you're driving with your right foot and you're pushing down on the gas, you're like, oh shit, this is bad.
Ugh.
So I'm driving 45 minutes back to the house, and every time I put my foot on the gas, it's like, ow, 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 ow.
And this was 2 weeks ago, and your toe's still hurting?
Yep. But it's a toe. What are you going to do? You tape it up, you wait it out.
All right.
But because of the fact I'm always on it, and I'm getting the steps in or whatever I got to do, it's like, yep, pain. But it's just, I slipped on a rock, man. I slipped on a rock.
It's not just a boulder, it's a rock.
Dude, no, it wasn't. It was just a rock. And it's like I slipped off and just broke the toe right there. And I still got to ride out the day. It probably happened around 6 o'clock, 7. I think it was about 7 o'clock it happened. And I had to still ride it out to like 1 a.m. That day. So I had to walk around for about 6 hours on it.
Was that one of those things like everybody noticed you fell, or?
No, nobody actually noticed. But when I had to be moved from one location to another, I'm like, hang in there. I'll get. It's a little slow right now. I hurt the toe, but I'll get there. And then I finally saw what it looked like, and it was just like, it was like a bulb at the end of my foot.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on being officially being in a Steven, or when you met him before.
Congratulations on actually being on a film set in 2025.
Well, that too, but congrats on being on a. I didn't even know.
Thanks, Fran Drescher. Appreciate it.
What?
Thanks, Fran Drescher. We appreciate all this.
I didn't even realize Spielberg was still doing movies, so that's pretty cool. I thought he was retired. I just because I don't think he has he done a movie recently besides this one.
Not to my recollection, but
okay. It's kind of like how Clint Eastwood he just did a movie at 91 or whatever.
Exactly. Clint Eastwood he wants to be able to. Well, see, that's the other part of it. Because of the fact that SAG no longer gives health insurance for residuals anymore, a lot of actors who'd never had to work again. And I'm going to use Michael J. Fox as a prime example. Now, Michael J. Fox is not in a position to be able to work film sets anymore.
Which he's about to do a movie.
I'm aware of the fact that he's in Shrinking season 3. I'm aware of that. But in this case here, the way it used to be until COVID is your residuals used to count towards your health insurance. So all the residuals he earned from Back to the Future, Doc Hollywood, Frighteners, Spin City. I mean, he did 4 seasons of Spin City. All of that stuff would count towards your numbers to get your health insurance. And as long as you hit your financial number, bam, you got it for another year. But because of the fact that they didn't have enough money, because somehow, despite 70,000 union members and health insurance out the wazoo, they had a deficit. They cut that part of it. So people that have been around for a while, like Clint Eastwood, Ed Asner, people that had long since retired, Alan Oppenheimer. I talked to Alan, the voice of Skeletor. He's like, I live in a home. What am I supposed to do here? I mean, Michael J. Fox going to Shrinking, I think part of the reason was to get another year of health insurance out of it. I've mentioned this before, that one commercial that Rick Moranis did for Mint Mobile with Ryan Reynolds, where he just walks on camera, says hi, and then leaves. I'm pretty sure Ryan Reynolds was like, here's $25,000. You got health insurance for another year.
Right. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's why it was done, so he can get another year of health insurance out of it. Because the industry has completely, by the way, earmuffs, fucked us all over. Dude, it has. It is a mess of an industry right now. I mean, right now, Stream Punk is paying my health insurance right now for $421 a month. But it used to be $2,100 a year for Robin and me, and this was the same health insurance Denzel Washington would get.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, no, ever since the strikes of 2023, it's killed everything. So the very fact that I'm on a film set was amazing and shocking because it just doesn't happen anymore.
No, and I know you've had your, I mean, from the time I've known you, I know you've had your struggles recently, and I know you've talked about how you're out of the industry, and it's nice to see you're back in the industry somewhat. I mean, like I said, a little bit. I mean, hey, you can
more in the game of actually interviewing people in the industry. Yeah, that, like I said, that was. I mean, it's only a big toe. I got 9 toes left,
right?
So it's gonna hurt. It still hurts for like a week and a half, but I'll get through it.
And I will say, when it comes to Michael J. Fox, yeah, I can see why you're saying he may act to get more health insurance, but that dude makes enough money at a convention where he doesn't have to worry about if he has to pay out of pocket.
Well, with his health conditions, you don't know, man.
Well,
is he even insurable at this point?
Well, what I'm trying to say is, I mean, when the guy charges anywhere from $150 to $350 per autograph and has lines out of the wazoo, he's making. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, with the amount of cons he's been doing, with it being the 40th anniversary, and I mean, he's done many cons before this. The dude probably makes a good $1 million, if not more, in one weekend.
He might, but I'll say this: the SAG health insurance is spectacular.
Well,
it is about as good as you can get in the United States.
No, I'm not saying it isn't. I was just saying that technically, as much money as that guy makes by just signing real quick, probably pays his insurance alone.
It could. I mean, I don't know how much. I mean, with the conventions, you know this better than I would, but I don't know if. How much of a percentage they get, if it's a 50-50 split or how that works.
True, yeah. That I don't know. I don't know if they say, hey, Mr. Michael, you're guaranteed 100 grand or 500 grand, and then whatever you make after, we get a cut. That's probably how they do that. Is they probably give you a guarantee of how much money that we think you're going to for sure make, and then we get to keep a little extra or something. I mean, that's how business works. So, and then obviously you got to pay your agent because, and that's why agents don't like when they give away free autographs.
Well, it opens up a can of worms there, where it's like, if you do for one, then something you got to do for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, but I think it should also be the actor's choice too. If they feel obligated to give something, they shouldn't get relocated by it because it's they're your guest, so therefore, But
I almost feel like the celebrity of these events are more of an employee.
In a way, sometimes they get treated that way, and it's not right. Like I know the guy that's now had a blown up career that has a blown up movie next month, not this month, but Mr. Joseph Quinn, that's from Stranger Things.
Yes.
He got yelled at a convention. He was taking his time. This was an overseas convention, and this was his first convention, and they're like, "Hey, you need to shut up and start signing faster." And that's upsetting to hear,
Yeah.
But now, and why I meant his career's blown up is now he's Johnny Storm and gonna be in your MCU as Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four.
Which, by the way, apparently has not done well in test screenings.
Ooh, has it not?
It is actually going back and doing reshoots right now. Found that out today.
Ooh.
Yes.
That's not good.
Because apparently in the original ending, Sue Storm teams up with the Silver Surfer to take down Galactus. And a lot of the fans were like, where's the Thing? Where's Johnny Storm? It's like, they're not in the end of the movie right now.
Really?
That's what I've come across from some of the early reviews, yes. So they have gone, yes, Fantastic Four apparently has gone back and done reshoots at this point late in the game with just like, a month or two before the movie's going to be released?
The movie releases in don't quote me on about 53 days because it's the same week as I go to my trip.
A month to 2 months, yeah.
That fancy trip that I'm going on.
Yes. You're going to California.
Going to California, which I need to message you later about if they do a premiere in LA, not saying they will, but I know LA can be a town that they pick for a premiere.
It is popular that way.
I need to message you of how we can how we can maybe get into that if possible.
Okay. I'll see what we can do in this case here.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, no, it's just cool the possibilities of, because the week that I go out there, which is the 21st, that's the week that the Fantastic Four comes out on. And I'm not saying they're going to do a premiere because they probably will they'll probably pick New York. Never mind, because that would make sense because the Fantastic Four is New York. But they might
do both. I mean, listen, if anything, Day would probably get out there because he just did Mission Impossible.
No, I know he would do obviously New York, but if they did an LA one, that would be crazy.
Yeah, we could ask him if he was here.
I think, to be honest,
did he say he wasn't gonna be here and I forgot again?
I don't. The only thing I can think of is maybe he's at but I think we would have saw pictures by now. He may be at a premiere of he may be could he possibly be at a screening of the John Wick movie?
Possible.
The one that we're talking about today?
We actually, yes, Ballerina is on that list. So
yes.
I guess on that note.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have a segment that we love called Cash or Trash. And I know we're already in June, but what's great is none of the movies that we've talked about have came out because the last week, worked out perfect. This is technically the first week of June movies.
Yes, we timed it out well in this case. You guys timed it out well in this case.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Wick Ballerina is coming in at a budget of approximately $90 million. So in this case, I have my thoughts on this. Do you think this is, in order to buy the rules on this, and we do this every month, in order to make cash, You have to double what your budget was. So if the budget's 90 million, it's got to make 180.
Yeah.
I personally believe this will. It will not do John Wick numbers, but it will break the 180 and probably even 400, maybe 350, 400, in order to basically turn it into an actual profit. Thoughts?
What do we mean by John Wick money? Like, what?
If Keanu Reeves was really in this and it was a Keanu Reeves film and not a cameo,
but
that's John Wick money.
He is in it, so I don't know.
It's a cameo because it takes place between 3 and 4.
I get it's a cameo, but fans are crazy just because of the fact that, and not saying it'll matter too much, but you do have a Walking Dead star that a lot of people care about, Norman Reedus. I did see he was in there. I'm not saying that's going to be the drive of why people come, but sometimes, that's a way to connect the Walking Dead fans with this because they like Norman Reedus. I don't know. I could see it hitting $500 million easily.
Well, it only has to hit 180.
Yes, it's going to for sure be cash. No, regardless, it's cash.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not going to pull up like the numbers like John Wick 2, 3, and 4 did. But it's going to be like Bourne Legacy, where you have an iconic franchise and you got to spin off with someone else who has name recognition, but you kind of just use the John Wick name to generate what you need to basically earn income with it. So, yeah, I can get behind that one.
Yeah, easy
All
money,
right.
literally.
All right, that was easy. This is gonna be quick, by the way.
Yeah, I figured.
Now, Elio, I know very, very little about this. The budget's close to 300 million.
Yeah, I saw.
I actually have the expectation of the. I mean, I already had a decision on this before I even saw that, but yeah, I already have what it's expected to get opening weekend too.
Let me guess, 50 million.
Just close, 45.
Yeah,
35 to 45.
I don't think this movie is going to be cash, and I could be wrong, but there's a reason why I'm saying this, and it's because
it's $300 million.
Well, 300 million, and two, the Disney movies. I understand this is also a Pixar movie, but I feel like one, it's not really well advertised. The only thing I've seen about this movie, and the only reason why I know about this movie is because I saw there's a Funko Pop. That's the only reason why I know there is a movie. I think I may have seen the trailer recently when I went and saw. Actually, yeah, I think there was a trailer when I went and saw Lilo and Stitch, which we're not going to talk about Lilo and Stitch. But one thing I will say about that movie is I'm happy it is cash. And I think it's going to hit $1 billion still, even though they changed a bunch in that Lilo and Stitch movie. But this movie's going to be trash.
Yeah,
and it's because of our next movie we're going to talk about. I feel like you're going to have all of your kids seeing the live actions over this, because our next movie, I think after this, should be How to Train, or no?
But we can get to that in a second. I just have a couple thoughts on this too.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, part of the problem exists on this is there were so many replacements in here.
Yeah.
So America Ferrera was supposed to be in it, and then Zoe Saldana took over. The director was on there and left, and was replaced. So there was a lot of changes in there.
Ew. I don't like that.
Yeah. So as a result, yeah, we're in a little bit of trouble on this one. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Disney. I understand they're trying to do something original, but I don't know.
Pixar doesn't have the same strength and magic it used to.
No. It does. I mean, I think their one movie did pretty good. What was the last Pixar?
Well, they had Inside Out 2.
Inside Out 2 did $1 billion, but it was also a sequel to the first one. So
sure.
So yeah, I don't know. I think if they wanted to be safe, they should have did it. I don't see why you had to spend $300 million. I feel like this movie should have been like a $50 million at max. I don't know how much. Sorry, I don't know what the amount of animation is or how much it actually costs us for all that. But I still think 300 is a little ridiculous.
Well, if the director, sometimes if the director changes, they're going to want to change how certain things are done. So chances are things had to be reanimated again from scratch with the new director's vision.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure the animation budget probably exploded when the new person came in.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's fair. I don't know. This movie to me doesn't look appealing, and you've already got too many other kids movies coming out this summer that people are gonna go see Lilo and Stitch over this easily, and people are gonna see How to Train Your Dragon. I don't know if this has potential of getting 600 million. I think that's a very stretch. If there wasn't any other kids movies this summer, I would say yeah. I would easily say yeah. But no. Sorry, Disney.
Yeah. And the week before it, as you mentioned, How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
So Elio comes out on the 20th, and How to Train Your Dragon, which is already an established franchise as it is,
Yes.
From its own success, is coming in also, by the way, at a lower budget. So that's going to be about a $200 million budget right there.
Yes.
Possibly, it says possibly exceeding 200, but I think even if it was 250, I think you're going to be fine here anyway.
Easily. So one thing I want to say about, and it's great we're talking about How to Train Your Dragon now, because my theory is still, I think Stitch is going to still hit $1 billion. Stitch is right now at like 638.
Let's see.
I think roughly.
Yeah, 613.
613. So that's just on its second weekend, which is great. It's insane how it passed all Marvel movies within 2 weeks. It passed everything, and I think it's going to pass the Minecraft movie easily. There's some problems with the movie I had with. If you were a fan of the original, I didn't like certain choices that they made, but like I was saying, is this movie thankfully doesn't come out until the 13th. So that means you still have another weekend of Lilo and Stitch and no other kids movies. And it made a good 300 million alone this weekend. So next weekend, it'll probably be at the 900. And then when How to Train Your Dragon, it's going to lose potential, but it'll probably still get 100 million altogether and hit the $1 billion. I feel like by week 4, you're going to have $1 billion on Stitch.
Well, in this case here, the first one, the original one from 2010, made $494 million back in 2010 dollars.
Right, the original. Yes, I get that. But the whole Stitch thing, and you got to think that prices are way different than back then. If you're charging the amount of prices you are now, going to the movies is a lot more expensive than it was back then.
Yeah,
which like I said. So How to Train Your Dragon? Oh wait, what budget did you just tell me?
200, maybe a little more. So we can pop it up to 250, but I think even so, it should be fine.
So sorry, I meant the price that you just gave me. Were you quoting the original Stitch or the original How to Train Your Dragon? Okay.
I was talking How to Train Your Dragon. You were going off on Stitch.
Sorry.
You were on the Stitch fix.
Yes, I am on a Stitch fix. But so the original budget, you're saying the first How to Train Your Dragon alone made
494.
Okay. This, like you said, is a successful franchise. I don't see why it can't hit 700 million. I don't. Yeah. It has potential hitting $1 billion too. I could see potential.
I don't see $1 billion. I think it's too much to ask.
I don't know. It all is going to depend on those first 2 weekends, because I feel like there's a big universe, with the How to Train Your Dragon. It depends on how the movie actually is. Depends on if they screw it up or not.
Well, I mean, if they stick pretty much beat for beat with the original one, you make a couple changes here and there, fine. But I think if they stay beat for beat with the original one, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Little by little, very little by little, I think Hollywood is starting to realize, don't mess with the system of what fans are liking. You're seeing that with Netflix, where they finally figured it out with One Piece and Avatar: Last Airbender. Again, I'm not big on remakes in general, but I think they're starting to figure out, give the fans what they're used to, don't rock the boat too much, and you know what? It'll be okay.
Did you see the promo, speaking of One Piece?
I did see, with Tony Chopper. Here's the thing. Okay. Now, I don't know how much you've seen of One Piece in general. Now, Tony Chopper, I love his flutter from the original anime.
Yes.
With the whole thing, he's like, he sits there and he does the flutter, like, Baga, and then he flutters again. and I like that sort of dichotomy. And I don't know if the trailer really did it right. I think he looks great. I think they did a great
I
job.
thought the voice was really good. So I'll be honest, I haven't seen any of One Piece really. I've only seen a couple episodes, but from seeing what Chopper looks from the animation, and then seeing the Chopper, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he seems like he is a clumsy character, correct?
He can be, yes.
Because I like how they had him like fall down the steps. He's trying to explain and then he falls down the steps. For a live action portrayal of that character, I thought from people that I trust, they did reaction videos and they were just hyped with the way they did Chopper.
Yeah, I mean, I want to show side by side for a second. So this is Chopper in the original anime. This is
Right.
before the time jump. This will be good enough in this case.
Yes.
So that's that one, and then basically you have this one here, which again I think is a really nicely done Chopper.
Yeah.
I like the look. I feel like the people that were doing this, and again, it's because they figured out give the fans what they want.
Right.
And holy shit, a live action anime adaptation is getting a season 2. We haven't seen much of that.
No.
Bleach didn't, Death Note didn't, Cowboy Bebop didn't.
There's a reason why those didn't.
Yeah, because in this case here, it was about a Hollywood vision and not the fan vision.
Yeah.
Again, for me, I am not a fan of live action remakes in general. So I'm the wrong demographic here. But credit where it's due, where it's a good look, the cast is well done, the effects are nice. I can see why a lot of people like it. Me, I'm old school, dude. I can barely watch dub. With the exception of like 2 or 3 voice actors. I can't watch anime dub.
I can't do subtitles, so that's where we differ. But that's also because I got my dyslexia and ADHD, and the problem I have with subtitles is I'm too focused on what they're actually saying than actually trying to figure out what's going on in the scene.
I've been watching anime longer than you've been alive, so I've gotten used to it.
I know you have, sir. I know you have. That's not a flex, sir. You are old.
I know. Dude, 50 years old in 3.5 months, man. So,
oh my gosh, you're gonna.
I know, AARP card. So, thank God for arrested psychological development. It keeps me young, man. But anyway, like I said, I'm really, really impressed with the look. I know the story arcs that they're going to go with. I'm curious to see, who they're going to cast for some of the other characters that are going to be coming in on this.
And the person that got to play her, I forget what her name is, but she's actually a popular actress.
The one that's voicing Tony?
Yes.
Voicing Chopper?
Yes.
Let's see. No, she's hot. Michaela Hoover. Oh, from Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yes.
Huh.
So.
All right.
Yeah. I like Scott's reaction. She's hot, whoever she is.
She is, man. Credit where it's due. But like I said, first thing when I first saw the trailer, I was like, that's a good Chopper. Yeah. Again, can't get into it, but people like Ryan, oh yeah, they'd be all over this in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah. Which speaking of Ryan, I don't know if you saw his one comment, or no, you don't have access. Ryan, I'll have to tell you something off screen. He posted a comment about the Merv video, and I was curious if you knew the details on that.
No. Did he post it when you shared it? You mean?
I didn't share the one that we posted on TikTok. Let's just say Ryan said that Murr has seen him unclothed. That's all I'm going to say there.
Yes. Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, he commented on our TikTok. Ryan said that man has seen him unclothed.
Yes. Yeah, because he was. They were all wearing what they were when they were born. But yeah, okay, I forgot. Oh my God, I forgot. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Why did I suddenly forget about Ryan's penis? I don't know why. I don't know why that happened.
Anyway.
The weirdest shit, man. But yeah, How to Train Your Dragon. Like I said, I think it's going to do well. I think there's a lot to be excited about with this movie. I mean, I've never seen any of the How to Train Your Dragon. I've watched Alex Meyer video recaps of them, so I know the storyline. I know Hiccup.
They're cute, and it was and I could be quoted I'm wrong, but I felt like it was an original idea. I don't know if it was actually, but it was basically a story where they're Vikings, they're taught to fear dragons. Dragons are dangerous, so if you see one, kill them.
Basically, yeah.
And this guy, Toothless, he, which is a night fairy, because they go really fast and you only see them at night, he crashes and he lost his tail because of hitting like a tree or something, made him lose his tail, so he can't fly. So then that's when he meets this Toothless guy. I mean, not Hiccup. Sorry, his name's Hiccup. Toothless is a dragon, but meets Hiccup, and Hiccup's like, "Hey, dragons are not as bad as my dad said. No, I'm not gonna kill you. And hey, I'm an inventor, so let's invent you wings to fly." And and it's a pretty good story. And they did I think a trilogy with it. I think they made
three.
And then they did,
and the second one he meets his mom.
Yes. And then they did I think a mini series with it. So I mean, it's been one of those movies that they do usually a holiday special. They've done just different things to keep it going, and I've enjoyed the series. The first one's always will be my favorite.
Probably, yeah.
I hope they. I don't understand why people are so against for them doing a bit for bit kind of live action. Because people are like, well, if they do that, then I'll just watch the original. I kind of like watching live actions bit for bit because it lets me know the technology that we have nowadays, and the fact that they can bring something like that alive. I just hope with this movie that they don't do the mistake that they did with Stitch. That's all I gotta say.
And what mistake would that be, by the way?
Basically changing Nani's story. Instead of Nani, spoiler alerts, but instead of Nani staying at the very end, she goes to college. Just says, and has like this character that they introduced. Watch the kid. Now there are some debates where she does have a portal, so she can see Lilo at any time. I get that, but and they made, instead of having Gantu, the big giant guy, whale guy, he's not in the movie, and they made Jumba a villain and kept him as a villain. He was always kind of a villain, but then he became family, and they totally scripted that off. He goes off in the ship. Now I will say, there's moments I did cry in that movie. They say the line, "Oh, it's family, family's no just left behind or forgotten." That I was like, because of all the changes, I wasn't expecting that because they were just changing everything, and then they did that. I was like, okay, tears because nostalgia. So, I don't know. It was a cute story. Just being an original Disney fan of the original, it just was hard.
That's the problem I got when you got it built in your own head how you like the thing.
Right.
All of a sudden it's like
when you're expecting something from the original and then they just change things, it's like, but no, well. And I fell asleep, so that's another thing. I fell asleep in Lilo and Stitch.
Dude.
So, but that tells you something. If I'm falling asleep in a movie, especially one of my favorites, Lilo and Stitch is my favorite movie growing up, and to fall asleep, they added extra things. Too much talking. That was my biggest issue. Too much sister interaction of just talking about the parents. They went very heavy on that. And for other people, that's more connection. For me, I was like, where's the Stitch action? So, but I hope, like I said, How to Train Your Dragon, I am going to be definitely seeing that. And I hope it does really well, and I hope they do pretty good. Well, they can change the little things. I don't care if it's just slight little changes, but just try not to do a whole different story is what I gotta say.
Like I said, if they keep it to what they more or less beat for beat, I think fans will be okay with it.
Yeah. But they are getting better. I will say that live actions are getting better, despite Snow White. Live actions are getting better.
Snow White, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh, Rachel Zegler, what are you going to do with your career now?
Yeah.
You had such promise.
And then and that's the last tangent I have on Lilo and Stitch. They made the lady, the alien lady, she looked perfect, but when they did Jumbo, he didn't they could have easily made him look just as. It's just there were certain things that they did perfect on animation or to live action, and then there's other things that's like, why did he turn out like that? Like Pleakley was amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and they changed the voice of Jumba. I had a problem with that too. They changed the voice, but they kept the same voice of Pleakley. So just different things like that. So, anyways, What else do we got?
Let's see. Where was I? How to Train Your Dragon. We got that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This is based on the video game, right?
This is the third movie in a now very long franchise. When first basically it was 28 hours later, then it was 28 days later, now it's 28 years later. I always figured when they had 28 hours and then 28 days, that they were going to eventually do it 28 years later. I predicted this like 20 years ago when the original two movies came out.
28 years later? No.
28 years later, and then probably 28 millennia later, or 28 eons later. But what's old is new again. So we have 28 years later at this point.
Is this based on video game or no?
No, I don't believe it was.
Oh, okay. I could have swore there was a game. So what is this, a pandemic movie?
Yeah, it's a zombie type movie. The entire franchise is basically.
Okay.
The original two movies came out during the era of zombie movies when we had all the Dawn of the Dead movies and all these kind of big Resident Evil. So it was jumping on that bandwagon in a big way. This movie is on a budget of a modest $75 million. So I think it's a very safe bet to say this is going to be able to make money with this.
Give me 1 second. Sorry. And I say cash.
Yeah, that's fair. Sorry, I was actually reading. I'm not sure if you stepped out. But yeah, $75 million. Most expensive movie ever shot using iPhones, with the filmmaker using multiple iPhone 15s for filming. Cast of this one is going to be Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, Ralph Fiennes is in it again, Alfie Williams. So we got a good cast on this. Cillian Murphy's in it. So this will be fine. A movie like this, a horror movie, zombie apocalypse type level movie, $75 million, safe bet. I think it's going to be okay on that one. 150 at least is very, very doable.
And people like their zombies, so I think with the budget of $75 million, that's a good bet.
Yeah, this is a movie that comes out. By the way, it's going to be in for a challenge because it's coming out the exact same day as Elio.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, so Elio is going to be coming out on June 20th. This is going to come out on June 20th.
28 years later, Elio. No.
There you go. Yeah, basically. So safe bet, I think, all the way through.
Did the other movies of this franchise do really well on a small budget of 75? Did the other ones?
They did. Hang on a sec. Yeah, I know the first one made pretty well. The second one probably did pretty darn well also.
Okay. I mean, they obviously got to do somewhat well for them to make a third one.
28 Days Later was 2002. On an $8 million budget, made 84. So I would definitely count that one.
Okay.
So
the budget probably went up on the second one.
Yeah, 28 years later was 2007. 15 million made 65 and change. So not as good, but still enough to qualify. And now at this point, now that it's been 18 years since the last one,
you
can hit it from two different fronts, because you can hit it from the people that were younger and also the people that were, now, in this case, like I said, the young generation plus the older generation who want to see where it's at, who remember the first two.
But that begs that's interesting. I wonder why they had to, because that's interesting that the first one had an $8 million budget, made 80 something million. The second one had a 15 million, but only made 65. And now you jump all the way to 75 million, which is almost more than almost more than what your movie made in general. So that's interesting to. You think they would?
Like I said, I think it'll be okay because you're hitting both the young TikTok generation and also arguably their parents. Who
was the big celebrities that you just mentioned? Any big names?
I want to say Christian Bale was in the first one.
I meant big names for this one.
Cillian Murphy's in this. Robert Carlyle, Rose Byrne. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was the second one. 28 years later. There we go. Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ralph Fiennes, Emma Laird. So.
You know what? I'm gonna go opposite from you, and I'm gonna say trash.
Okay.
I want to eat my own words. That kind of like, just from seeing what the budget was, and I understand we're talking about 20 years ago too, but just that none of the movies even made 100 alone, and we're wanting it to make 150. I don't know. I want to be wrong, so let's go ahead and say trash.
Well, yeah, the first one was Cillian Murphy, Naomi Harris, Brendan Gleeson, Megan Burns, Chris Eccleston, by the way, pre-Doctor Who. Stuart McQuarrie, a few other options in there too.
Oh, so it's the same lady that was in the first one as in the third one?
Cillian Murphy's in both first and third.
Okay, she wasn't in the second one.
Doesn't look like, no.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe the second one. Let's see, Naomi Harris.
Oh. I guess if she wasn't in the second one, that could have been why it didn't do as well, if she was the selling point of the movie.
Well, 2007, here's the thing. By 2007, zombie movies were a little bit on their way out. Yeah, 2002, like I said,
you know what? Screw it. Change me to cash. We'll just say cash. We live in a walking...
Like I said, 2002, 2004, man. Really, to 2000 to 2004. That was like peak zombie movie era.
We do live in a Walking Dead world now, so, you know.
But like I said, I mean, my God, they had so many of them back then.
Yeah.
You know, even movies like Resident Evil or, like I said, Dawn of the Dead or any of those. It was just, you know, there was one where the zombies ran like super fast too.
Right.
You know, as opposed to the plotting George Romero style. I don't remember what the movie was, but yeah, 75 million. I think it's very doable. And then the last one we have, Megan 2.
Yeah.
Now you wanted to do this one.
I did this one because this is just gonna be instant cash.
There's no budget on this one, but I would have to incline to agree.
There was no budget. I saw speculations of 40 million,
which is doable. Yeah, the first one was next to nothing. Also.
Yeah, the first one they filmed, I think, 15 million,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the budget was 15 million, and the thing made way over its money. It was something that was a not, I wouldn't say original idea. I would say it's like a Chucky idea, but with AI now. Mm-hmm. So it becomes its own idea. But because of how successful the first one was and how people are in love with the franchise, I think the second one's going to be instant cash.
You could be right, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know much about the Megan movies because I don't get into the horror stuff, so I didn't watch the first one. I
don't know much, but I knew I love you.
A podcast I listened to a while back when Tara Strong had her own podcast, it was Kim Possible had their own podcast. They brought in the voice of Megan, and she talked about the experience and how, like, you know, because she knew what was going. She doesn't like horror stuff, but because she knew behind the scene what's going on, it didn't freak her out because she already knew what was going on.
Sure, you can handle it a little better.
But yeah, she also is. She's also known for, if I'm not mistaken, one of the voices. Can't think of what her name is, but she's known for the Siri lady on TikTok too, because she can sound like Siri.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. If I'm not, I think it's like. Are you able to pull up the cast at all?
Sorry, again. Say again.
Are you able to pull up the cast for this at all?
The cast for Megan 2?
Yes, Megan 2.0.
Jenna Davis, Violet McGraw, Arnie Darnon, Donald.
Who doesn't get credited for Megan's voice?
Jenna Davis.
Okay. Because I could have swore, and maybe she was just for the first one, but if I'm not mistaken, the lady that does Megan, and I could be totally wrong because my brain likes to make it up thing, pretty sure is known as the Siri lady on TikTok because she can sound like Siri and can have Siri say whatever. Well,
she's actually an influencer, which, by the way, she brings like 2 million followers on TikTok right to her.
Wait, who? The
girl, Jenna Davis?
Oh, yeah. She's known. Then that is her. I'm pretty sure she's known for Siri.
So yeah, that's an instant cash if she's got 2 million. That's to say nothing about the rest of them. If she alone has 2 million subs or followers.
Yes. So yeah, if I'm not mistaken, she's known as I think she's known as the lady from that does Siri's voice and stuff, and it's weird how accurate she sounds like.
God, she just turned 21 too. Holy cow!
Yeah, she's a young pup.
Her great granduncle is Gene Autry too.
Oh,
famous cowboy actor.
Oh, there was this our last movie?
Yes, it is actually.
Okay, because there was one other movie coming out this month, but I didn't have enough time to research it, and it's coming to my theaters. It's called F1, and it actually looks good, but I didn't get to see a trailer. Like I said, I don't even know what the budget, don't even know anything on it. But it's called F1, and it seemed interesting.
The one's coming out this year?
It comes out at the end of this month.
300 million.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's
going to fail because
we're not.
Brad Pitt's not going to carry that.
Yeah,
I did see something.
Is it based on a true story? Okay, never mind.
You know what? Whenever they say based on a true story, I already have my doubts anyway.
Well, what I say is it based on a true story because when you do based on true stories, those usually do pretty well in box office.
Yeah. Well, what I find really funny is when they say inspired by a true story. It's like, so I read about this while scrolling my phone while taking a shit. I have a movie inspired by a true story.
It's kind of like Kevin Smith's movie, the freaking Walrus or
Tusk.
Yeah.
Now, in this one, you've got a lot of racers that actually are playing themselves. Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, Leclerc, Lando Norris is in this, Yuki Tsunoda. So you got a lot of the F1 people appearing as themselves. So you got a good cameo fest here.
So I mean, it could do well.
Now I don't know how they're going to pull that off because I mean I figured they probably would have had to film them. What I would theorize is maybe they're using B-roll of the races themselves because getting these guys together is going to be really, really tough. Right. That also could be why this is 300 mil.
Yeah, I don't know, and it's insane that next month, at the beginning of next month, Jurassic Park comes out.
Oh, jeez, we're going to talk about that one.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next month.
That movie's gonna fail.
Talk about instead of a rebirth, maybe a death. But yeah, okay. Well, yeah. So Megan, I have no problem with saying cash. I feel very confident about that.
Perfect.
Here at Stream Punk Entertainment, we just love giving love to all movies. So this month, besides Elio, we say every movie's gonna get basically cash.
Basically, yeah.
And that's excluding F1 because that's not an official one we were talking about. So that one I'm not even going to give my thoughts on because that I could see it doing well because I'm guessing F1 is like your race cars and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you have actual drivers, so you may bring your NASCAR fans and stuff. Or is it NASCAR or am I misquoting that?
Formula One's different from NASCAR.
Okay, so you may have your Formula One fans that are going to go see this.
You might get your NASCAR fans too, but
yeah. So it may be something where NASCAR fans are like, we don't have a movie, and they're like, oh hey, this seems like the closest we're going to get. And I will say the one movie I really liked that they did last year was based, or was it? Oh, maybe it wasn't last year. The year before, the game, the one that was based on the game, and didn't know that they did this in real life. The race car game,
Gran Torino, I think, or no.
Yeah, and I didn't know, and I don't know how I didn't know because I mean I was old enough to have a phone back then, but I never knew that they took actual players that were really good at the game and then put them behind actual wheels and raced, and the guy still races to this day.
And you know what's funny? You probably save yourself a crap ton of money.
Huh?
You probably save a ton of money if you take a gamer like that. You pay them a non-union special ability, maybe a SAG rate, and you get so much footage just from them.
Have you? You probably haven't seen the movie, have you?
Mm-mm.
It was really good, and it was insane that I didn't even know that we had the technology to do something like that, or, you know, the capability of saying, okay, well, if this player can be that good in the game and knows the maps, then he could just be as good as driving one of our, you know, things.
Yeah.
And they show what he looks like nowadays, and he's still racing. And it's just mind-blowing that you took somebody from playing a PlayStation game and put them in real life.
Dude,
you know?
you grab someone like that, like I said, you give him a SAG waiver,
Yeah.
you know, you pay him $300, $400 for the day, and you have footage like that.
Yeah.
So smart. Cheap as hell. Smart.
So, but okay. Well,
All
we
right.
have other topics, right?
I have one other, and I apologize for basically looking at the screen so much, because I was trying to find it today in movie history, and I kind of struggled with it.
Okay, no worries.
You know, I was actually
there is something that happened today, and I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I think it's crazy who passed away. The guy from he's been in other stuff, but I know what people have been talking about. King of the Hills guy. Jonah.
Yeah, the guy that voiced John Redcorn.
Yeah, that's insane.
I saw that. I wasn't sure of the accuracy of it based on who was posting it, but yeah, got into a fight with a neighbor and apparently got killed.
Yeah, and I looked him up, and the guy's been in so much stuff. Texas Ranger as a younger version of one of the
Dale's wife in King of the Hill.
Yeah, so it was insane to see that. You know, and especially with was it King of the Hill that's having a reboot?
Yes, next in 2 months, and it's already lost the voice actor for Dale.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because Dale died 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean that's a rough loss on two fronts there.
Yeah. So, rest in peace to you, sir.
That makes the third cast member from that show to die.
That's insane.
Brittany Murphy was the other one.
Somebody else passed away recently, but I can't remember. We've had a couple people there, kind of minor people, but I mean, still famous people that have passed away within the last. So, rest in peace to all the people we've lost. So, do we have a movie history?
I had to dig deep on this one. I couldn't even use today. I mean, I could have, but trying to give you clues on Dead Poet Society, I figured it was going to be a little bit too tough.
You could have said Robin Williams, and I would have said Dead Poet Society.
Of course, you would have nailed that right off the bat.
I could have probably gotten it because I do know Dead Poet Society. I like that movie.
Do you really? Okay, yeah. Basically, yeah. That guy that was almost in the Star Wars Holiday Special, and then in the first acting role, he later married Uma Thurman.
And then I would be like, give me a little bit more hints, and then you'd be like, well, this actor that's in it, it's Robin Williams, and it's an 80s movie. And I would be like, Dead Poet Society.
Well, I do have one here.
Okay.
It is directed by someone who has a great. This is, by the way, for tomorrow. It's tomorrow's anniversary.
Okay.
It was a movie that, in this case here, was directed by someone who would end up having a massive, massive film later. It was a film that's still iconic to this day. But this particular film, its most famous scene was actually a surprise ad lib, because this director happened to see the location, see what was there, and turned it into something special. Now, being very, very generic at this point, the original cast options, and basically many of whom actually in this case here said no. Steven Spielberg, by the way, was offered to direct this and chose not to. So this child actress turned director ended up doing it. Kevin Costner, Steve Guttenberg, Warren Beatty, Dennis Quaid, Matthew Modine were all offered this role, and it was eventually turned down and given to someone who at that point was mainly known for television, including a TV show called Bosom Buddies, where he dressed in drag to be able to live in a woman's only apartment. Jeff Bridges was also offered the role in this case here. John Travolta wanted to play it, but the studio wasn't interested. The director of the main cast member of this, the actor that was in this, would later go on to win Academy Awards, including one for a film that was offered to John Travolta, and we've talked about previously, but couldn't do it because he had another 1994 film at the time.
Is this an animated movie?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It is a comedy, however.
And are you allowed to give me a year, or does that give it off too much?
1988.
1988. Okay, so it's an 80s movie. And the person was wearing drag. That's your main star in here, but it could have went to Dennis Quaid, John Travolta. Let's see. What did you say the synopsis of the story was, or any?
The synopsis basically centers around someone becoming someone they used to be, and vice versa. The actor who ended up getting this role ended up getting an Academy Award nomination for it, and also won a Golden Globe Award for it, for Best Comedy. FAO Schwartz was where the iconic scene took place.
Let's see, 88. Let's see.
Basically, the older mentor character that was in this iconic scene in this movie is someone that I have met and I actually have done a movie with.
Then it must be Hugh Jackman for The Greatest Showman. No.
Yes, of course. No. No. It was a principal role, actually. But it was a movie that this actor also, I got to go with you being a little bit younger. This mentor actor, who was very well known for playing grisly characters, usually not grisly like dark, but grisly just like a tough guy, was also in Independence Day. He was also in Scarface.
Al Pacino?
No, but Al Pacino was in Scarface.
Yes, he was. Then it has to be Will Smith. No, I'm just kidding.
Let me think what else.
Bill. What? The guy that's from Casper.
No, Bill Pullman. No.
Okay.
I mean, granted, I've worked with Bill Pullman before too, and
that's
and farted on him once.
You got the most craziest stories,
dude. 15 years, 1,000 days on a film set, and yeah, I strafed that man as I was walking, and I left it right behind me. I felt so bad.
Yo, that would be a good book for you to write. 1,000 days on film set.
The people I farted on. Farting on celebrities and basically their reaction.
There we go. React channel. Street Fuck React. You can react all the time.
I ended up doing that one video about Dark Knight Rises. The short alone picked up like 6,700 views.
Good.
So, but
okay.
Irrespective in this case here, the main cast member of this would later get stranded.
Like in the movie or in life?
No, in a different movie later. Also, ironically enough, before he did this, he kicked Fonzie out of a window. But that's just a trivia point.
He kicked Fonzie out of a window? That's
in an episode of Happy Days, he kicked Fonzie out of a window.
Oh.
And that was before Bosom Buddies.
That must be Adam West because Batman made a crossover. No, I'm just kidding.
Let me think. What else? What else can I tell you about this guy?
Trying to think of what movies came out in '88 that's a comedy that. I hope I've seen this movie.
You might have.
Also, our comments are very. Is anybody even watching us today? Because we haven't had no.
The numbers are more on Twitter, but yeah.
Okay.
It's the lack of day.
Oh, day brings in the people. Got it.
But I will say this actor, a few years later, you'd have a friend in him.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Tom Hanks.
I am.
No, not Forrest Gump, because Forrest Gump wouldn't be 80s.
6 years before that.
Okay. So it is a comedy, and it's Tom Hanks. Ooh, let's see. Because it was funny. I thought you were saying Tom Hanks because of one of your other hints that you already gave.
This scene in FAO Schwartz is one of the most famous scenes in history. And credit to Penny Marshall for noticing it. Director Penny Marshall.
Right. Oh, speaking of, I don't know why Marshall brought it up. It was the lady from MASH that passed away this week.
Yeah, Loretta Swit.
Look, so rest in peace, sir. But back to Tom Hanks. I don't. Now I got the actor. I'm just trying to think of movies, and I'm blank. I'm thinking of all his '90s movies. I'm thinking of Tom Hanks was in Castaway, but obviously it's not that movie because that's '92. I think something like that. I don't know, Scott. I think I'm gonna have to give up. Unless you got anything else that maybe will help me. Maybe oh, big.
This scene was an ad lib. It wasn't supposed to happen.
Oh.
Because they were filming this. They were filming in FAO Schwartz, and Penny Marshall saw the keyboard and thought, we have to figure out how to pull this into the scene.
Now, what's Big? I haven't seen Big. I think I even own it on VHS, but I don't think I've ever seen it. What's it about? Is he like a adult that has a kid mind?
He's a 13-year-old kid who ends up waking up in an adult's body.
Okay.
So one of those cards where you pull for a fortune makes him an adult.
So like a Freaky Friday kind of situation in a way.
In a manner of speaking, but yeah, he makes a wish to become big.
Yeah.
And then voila, becomes big.
Right. Okay.
But because of the fact that Robert Loggia takes to him because of the fact that he has a childlike mentality. So the guy's toy company who's struggling sees him and sees the value he brings.
Right.
So, I won't spoil the ending on that, but
I'll have to see if it. See, that's the problem about most 80 movies nowadays is you think with all the streaming service that we have, they'd be on streaming service, and then it ends up not be. It ends up having to be something you have to rent for $5, and
which, by the way, is pissing people off big time now. Have you noticed that?
Oh, it makes my mom mad every day because she grew up with movies like what she tried to watch the other day. It's like try to go watch Breakfast Club or just different movies that are almost 50 years old or 40 years old that you pay for these streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime, and it's not on any of those.
We won't say it's collusion, but it's probably collusion.
I'm wondering if it has to do with like all the copywriting and being able to have licensing to use that stuff.
What I think it is, it basically forces, if you want something, it forces you to have to buy a second one, third one, fourth one.
Right.
So a little bit of a collusion in this case here, where they could deliberately put all these movies on their own platform. They have the space, they can do it. But then it would cost you.
They could literally make an 80s platform where you put all the 80s movies and people are going to pay for that.
But see, that's why Pirate Bay has become more popular lately.
Right.
Because people are tired of that stuff and they just go to file shares and just download it and say, screw it. But
well, at least we know one movie that nobody will be pirating, and that's Snow White.
You know what? People probably did pirate Snow White just because the fact.
Oh no, that was the joke. Is that was one movie that everybody was saying that's one movie you don't have to worry about anybody pirating.
Yeah, I know. But I think people might pirate it just for the sake of being like, I got to take a look at this, just out of pure curiosity, But it's on Disney Plus now, by the way, if you want to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only if I had time. I'll probably go play some Fortnite later on. No, it's like only if I have time.
I'll get to it when I have time. Once I have once I finish watching everything else on the internet, then I'll watch it. It's fine.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like the Minecraft movies on digital right now.
Yeah. By the way, the funny thing about this is that probably every studio at the moment is trying to figure out how to incorporate the next chicken jockey into it.
Yeah, I think and they're probably going to do a sequel, or sorry, they will do a sequel because of who they introduced at the end of the movie. There was some kind of Minecraft reference. Oh, okay. But welcome in, John.
By the way, he's at the screening for Ballerina.
Oh, okay. So that I don't know if he mentioned that last week or not, but something told me that I had a feeling he was at that.
Now I got to see. Here's the problem. Now I got to figure out how to incorporate that into everything else, because I got your stuff here. I have Bumblefoot from Guns N' Roses, which I basically interviewed this morning. We got Paul Rudd tomorrow. You know, Ballerina is going to be in here. I threw your review in as a short to kind of circumvent all the rest of the stuff that was out there, you know, and it kind of worked out. But it's like there's too much content. I got to figure out what to do here, man.
Well, I mean, if they can give you,
I got to talk to you about some of the stuff we're working on with that too.
I mean, technically, it wouldn't probably be smart to post about Ballerina until probably Friday, anyways, when it comes out.
Could be.
So post it on maybe even Thursday night. Do it Thursday night, and then that's when it can have the most attraction, I think, because people will be looking up the day before, probably Friday, or when they're looking up Friday, it'll already be posted. So, but yeah, no, we got a lot of content. I'm keeping you busy with good old GalaxyCon.
Well, we're working on some stuff as far as sponsorship of individual videos go too. So
yeah,
but
yeah,
anyway.
no. One of my favorite things, which you weren't here for my haul, you may have rewatched, but one of my favorite things is we got a signed tunic. That was one of the prizes that I won for eating 1.5 pounds of fudge in less than 5 minutes. And go Mr. Manning for making sure we recorded the entire thing, and that video came out great. The audio was great on that. And didn't get as many views as I wanted it to, but
your bowels are probably not okay with it.
What?
Your bowels may not be okay.
I was fine. And
okay.
And an automatic sign up for next year.
That's true, yeah.
That's what they said. They're like, yeah, we want you next year. They're like, are you going to come defend your title next year? I'm like, why not? You're giving me 2 VIP passes to come back next year.
And now our special guest to take on rating champion Mr. Robert Manning, we have Joey Chestnut, Takeru Kobayashi, and Matt Stoney.
Oh yeah, it'll be pretty interesting for next year's, and I just got to give a huge shout out to GalaxyCon. The way they treat their press is really nice.
Nice.
Lot better. I'm not saying a lot better than all cons we've went to, but there's some cons that I could have went this year that I chose not to go this year because when I get press for them, I don't get to really interview anybody, and that's what I like about doing press is getting to interview people. Now, there are some people we asked. I'm not going to name names, but there are people we asked throughout the weekend, and they're like, I did press for the con itself, and I ain't going to do no other press. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy we got Judith Hogue, or however you say her last name.
Judith Hogue.
It was cool. It was like the realization where she's like, tell me about your channel. And so I pull up, and thankfully Scott has a list that's called Rob's Playlist that just shows all the interviews that I've done. And it was cool. Her reaction when she saw Rob Paulson and Cam Clark, she said, okay, we're good. Let's start recording.
Dude, the ability to be able to use that to market it for future stuff can't be understated. You know?
Yeah, no, it's like it was the first time that I've ever had to like show credibility because she's like, I'm very picky on who I let interview me. And so it was cool to have like I said, to have that folder and be like, hey, here's everything we've done, and you're like, oh, you got that person, that person, that person. Okay, let's go, let's do this.
I don't use it for the celebrities themselves necessarily, but I will use it for conventions. So I built that for the purposes of use it for marketing purposes as a one link for all. So it worked this way. It was unusual that it worked this way.
Yeah, it worked out on a celebrity behalf. Yeah, I know why you do it. So like when we do press for cons, you can just be like, here's a folder, here's every interview we've done, and boom,
Sure.
bada bing.
There you go. Bada bing, bada boom, betty boop. Yeah, all right, we good, sir?
Yeah, I think we're good. Because I don't got anything else to talk about. You don't got anything else to talk about.
I ain't got nothing.
So on that note, guys, this is Scott, and I'm Robert Manning, and this is Tales from